Okay, well, moving on. Gordon, the subject of ATVs, their use on farm, some more regulations coming in next year about their use, and sadly a death of a farm worker down in on the west coast just in the last couple of days. The moves that the government is looking at, is it too little too late? Should we have regulated ATVs more years ago?
Well, to be quite honest, I believe the ATVs were designed for the pleasure industry and they're used on farms, and I do not believe they are suitable to be used on farms because they should be wider and lower with the weight much lower so that it would be impossible to tip them over. But the fact that we have them, and most farmers, all farmers virtually have them, and they spend an awful lot of time on them. And if you worked out the amount of hours that farmers spend on them, probably the accident rate isn't, although tragic, isn't so great. I wonder about the helmets because I've rolled a bike on 2 or 3 occasions, and really the problem was in the middle of the body, the chest. Particularly, I broke a couple of ribs on one occasion. It was my folly. Well, on one occasion I hit a rock, which I didn't see, and the other one was my judgment was not good. So I really think we need to look at the bigger issue and redesigning the bikes.
What do you think, Wendy? Is there a cause, as Gordon says, for looking at that sort of change with ATVs?
Oh, definitely. You know, Gordon's got a really good point there. There's over 80,000 vehicles being used out on farms every day in all sorts of terrain and all sorts of weather. So it's our horse these days. Good on the Minister for having one of these safety awareness campaigns. We have to have them from time to time. So, yeah. We're right behind it.
Well, moving on, music to farmers' ears, Gordon. In the Business Herald at the weekend, its editor, Liam Dan, he's been on this program before, he said, never mind the Hobbit, it's grass that will grow our economy. Obviously, music to your ears. Why has it taken some people so long to catch on?
Yes, well, I think a lot of industries are all at risk, and I think it was demonstrated just recently how much at risk the film industry is, which we could have lost. But the farming will always remain the basis of our economy, and sadly a lot of people do not recognise that, and it's good to have a reporter who's bringing this out and take the tourism industry. We saw what happened when eruptions occur, and it could stop overnight. Okay, foot and mouth could also stop, be a big impediment for New Zealand agriculture. But we've got a number of strings to our bow, and I believe if we did have a major outbreak like that, it would be probably contained fairly smartly.
Right. Wendy, what do you think? Does there need to be a greater general awareness of agriculture's importance to the economy? I mean, I know the Federation is out there all the time spreading this message, but is it getting right through to the sort of far corners of the city public?
Well, if you listen to the urban leaders, they fully appreciate the value of agriculture to the economy. Probably the man in the street doesn't understand quite the flow-on effect and how if there's a good milk payout, that it will eventually flow down to them. But I think New Zealanders like agriculture. I think they see it as their heritage. And just as I think Aucklanders value the green belt around them, and they actively want farmers to keep on farming. So
that's good. Yeah. All right, well, our next subject, new kiwi fruit disease down in the Bay of Plenty, and restrictions coming in, some fears about what this is going to mean to the industry. Is this a case, Wendy, of biosecurity systems perhaps being, you know, not as tight as we would like?
Glenys, there's been 5 biosecurity incursions this year. Realistically, there was probably only 2 ways that this latest disease could have come in, and both pathways are deliberate. We either bring those plant materials in legally, and if that's the case, if it's come in legally, then there hasn't been enough inspection before the plant material was released to growers. The other pathway will be that they will have been bought in illegally, but not accidentally. And once again, we need to be stopping that before it hits our orchards.
So is there any question of that this might have been an act of sabotage of some sort, or the investigations haven't concluded anything yet, have they?
Investigations haven't shown what the cause of it was, and they don't even know, well, as far as I know, they haven't determined yet what the strain was.
Right. Okay. Well, Gordon, there's an article reprinted from the UK that says that urban people over there, they're increasingly scared of the country because they see it as being full of unfamiliar and unexpected things. New Zealanders always have valued their close connection with the country, as Wendy was saying before. Do you think there's any risk of this sort of fear taking off in New Zealand?
Well, it's interesting, when we had motorbike tours some years ago, we had some Asian tourists who lived in the city who were scared to get out of their cars, and so I really don't see it as a problem in New Zealand, because I think there are connections, a lot of, you know, of having city people coming up to the farm all the time and shooting possums and go hunting and all that sort of thing.
So keeping those connections up is really valuable.
I think it's vital that young people, particularly children, get onto farms and see how the real world operates, to be quite honest.
Absolutely. After the break, it's You Beauty or a bollocking. See who gets what when we return. Welcome back to Straight Talk. Now it's on to You Beauty, praise, or a bollocking, the opposite. Wendy, I think you might have a beauty this week.
Yes, Glenys. I would like to say to the Auckland dairy farmers, you beauties, because 98% of you have complied with your dairy discharge obligations without incident in the season just gone.
And that's a great record, isn't it? How does that compare with previous figures? They were a lot lower than that, or?
They weren't a lot lower, but that is an improvement.
Great.
On the year before.
Right, and I know a similar situation has been occurring down in Canterbury, where farmers are under intense pressure over these issues. The comment was made by a farmer down there that when the results are bad, it's headline news. When the results are good, you don't see very much reporting on it. Do you share that view?
Yeah, that's true, although I must admit that the Auckland Regional Council did announce the news when it came out.
So it's good. A pat on the back goes a long way, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. Right, Gordon, what do you have for us? A beauty? A bollocking, maybe?
Yes, certainly a bollocking, in that the fear of many farmers and other people is that the culture of the ARC and the likes of Rodney Council will be transferred to the city. And it was of great concern for us to see a lot of the officials who had caused all sorts of problems, particularly amongst farmers, being re-employed under a different name. And I have a bollocking for the people who actually re-employed those people, because I believe a lot of them are not really suitable. They have no diplomatic skills or PR skills, and the environment is too important. It needs cooperation between farmers and the officials, and there needs to be a mutual approach to problems.
But Wendy, surely the super city formation, it's the chance to start off on a new foot, isn't it?
That's right. It's a clean slate. We're going to start again. We hopefully will leverage off the good things that were happening before, and we're looking forward to the new regime with plenty of optimism.
Are there any indications, it's early days yet I know, that there will be a more concerted approach, as Gordon was talking about?
It's going to be easier to build relationships because previously we had to deal with 6 out of the 7 councils. Now we're only dealing with 1. So, you know, it does make life easier if you only have to deal with 1 set of people.
What about this optimism that Wendy's talking about, Gordon? You'd be hopeful that would happen, wouldn't you?
Yes, certainly. I think, as Wendy said, it's a clean slate, and we've said to Doug Mackay, the new CEO of Auckland City, and some of his senior officials, this is a clean slate, and this is an opportunity to set up a new culture, and if you get it right, this could be an example for the whole country. And already they have agreed that they will have a rural committee of the Franklin area and our area to meet directly with not only the CEO but the Mayor.
Well, that's a very positive first step, isn't it?
Very, very positive first step.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how many people would be included on that committee? Would they be representatives of different rural groups, or...?
Well, we have yet to meet with Wendy's group, and I would like to see a small committee of, say, 6, not only representing farmers but other rural people that are, you know, in our towns and that sort of thing.
Because there's an incredible amount of agreement out there, isn't there, Wendy? It's just a case of making certain that that opinion gets to the top level as efficiently as it can. And
we're working on that right now. So we're leveraging off the Auckland Rural Industry Group. Somehow we have to feed that directly into the council, and we're just working on that with council at the moment. Good. And you've got some fairly high-placed representatives right up there at the top, with people like Penny Webster as a committee chair. Obviously, they'll be keeping an eye on how rural concerns get looked at, won't they, Gordon? Certainly, and yes, and I think direct up, if she takes on the feelings of the community, which I'm sure she will, and she is a fairly high-profile member of the new council, and probably often in this situation, when most of the other councillors don't know anything about agriculture, like Colin Moyle many, many years ago, they can be of a great influence. Oh, that's good to hear. Well, that's all we have time for this week. Thanks to my guests, Federated Farmers Auckland President Wendy Clark and Gordon Levet from the Landowners and Contractors Protection Association. Thanks to you for watching. Please email your comments to country99tv.co.nz. Check out my blog there, and we'll see you next time.